Welcome to Cranky Live Sports Talk, where passion meets action.
Hey sports fans, I am Cranky, and this is the Cranky Live Sports Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into the hottest topics, the biggest games, and the most controversial moments in sports.
Whether it's football, basketball, track and field, cricket, or soccer, we've got you covered with expert analysis, insider interviews, and unfiltered opinions.
Join me as I chat with the biggest names in sports, get exclusive insights and stories you won't hear anywhere else.
Cranky Live Sports Talk is where you can hear the real talk, the hard-hitting questions, and the hottest takes.
So, if you're a true sports fanatic, you don't want to miss out? Subscribe now to the Cranky Live Sports Talk on YouTube and hit that bell icon to never miss an episode.
Cranky Live Sports Talk, where sports come alive. Subscribe today.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I'm sure many are probably surprised to see me doing a show at this point. It's a quick show. It's not a long show. And for those who are joining, thanks for joining. I think before I say anything, people, do me a favor, so I don't be my normal cranky self. I got some communication from a friend of mine today, a really good friend of mine, and he said I should be I'm gonna use my own terms, less confrontational when requesting likes and subscription for my audience. So since I'm very focused on ensuring that I listen, I learn, I continue to develop as a person. I was gonna say I'm not taking his advice, but I'm gonna take his advice. So I'm gonna try to ask nicely. But as I informed to him, as I indicated to him, sometimes you ask nicely and nothing happen. So you figured if he used the, I mean, when you said bad man thing, I'm gonna be like bad man thing. No, not the bad man thing, but if you go more aggressive, it's more understandable, at least from where I sit. So, but I could be totally wrong. So let me try to ensure that I ask nicely. Let's see if nice works, because I don't think nice works sometimes, but that's just me. I'm gonna try to be mannerly, cordial. Let's have to laugh going forward. I thought I was actually. But good afternoon. Let's up El Meek. Good afternoon. So you may see my clickbait thumbnail. I call it clickbait, even though I am taking off somebody's own. It says a Maverick, stop the nonsense, because he has a nonsense meter. I thought I would just come and talk for about 10 minutes. I'm not staying long, people, about something because he interviewed Rudolph Speed this morning, right? Rudolph is making the rounds, getting his flowers, and deservedly so, for his winning the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Championship. So well deserved. He's getting his deserved acclamation, kudos, flowers, laudatory comments, whatever it is that he's getting, right? And deserve in terms of accomplishment. And this me get myself in trouble, but I always say this, people. So Maverick interviewed Speed, did a long conversation. Bless up Germany. Long conversation. In fact, the entire 2 hours was the interview with Rudolph. And Rudolph did a good job, actually. He's always pretty calm, pretty cerebral, talking about a number of different factors. Didn't fall into some of these landmines, maybe a couple, but there were a lot of landmines were thrown, even though I think Maverick led him off with the whole conflict thing, and I will touch upon that. But it was a good interview. But but the reason why I'm calling Maverick out is, and I'll get to that, people, because certain aspects of the interview I just totally disagree with, and it's frustrating because I've had that conversation with Maverick before about what I consider to be his xenophobia, frankly, he would reposition it as what he calls balance, even though it tells me focus on meritocracy. But he keeps saying this balance thing. Balancing your team is having players with a certain skill set that balance out your team. Can't have too many attackers, can't have too many defenders. You want a balanced team. The balance he's talking about is balance between local developed players and overseas based players, right? Or what the coach called heritage players. Okay. All right, Jeremy. So let me say this, people. A couple of things. One is I'm going to play certain excerpts on the interview. Kind of hard to do because I didn't record it. I'm trying to pull that from the program itself, and trying to get to the exact location for some things is very, very difficult. And they were also talking about moments in game. I don't think Rudolph did the best job explaining moments. Someone like you have a theoretical comment, which I'm trying to explain to you, but they're not giving you the full base. They don't sit down and walk you through it. And I've always said this, people, and this is not about Rudolph, which is this: if you say something is too complex in life, they're not sure you fully understand it. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't understand moments, because I think he does, but you have to articulate to an audience. I always tell my staff when I used to be in public, which is explain it to me like explain to a 5-year-old, because I don't understand. And if you can take examples and certain things and equate it, then it's easily understood. So I'm going to give you guys an example of what I think, or the definition of what moments entail as we go through the discussion. As I said, this is not a long discussion. I come for a short. I'm not beating anybody. I'm just providing my perspective, people. But I thought Rudolph was good in the conversation, but there were certain aspects of the conversation which I take onus with. One thing Rudolph said was, Maverick asked him the question about the coach and the coach living in Jamaica, and that's been a big deal. And he says certain people have like advantage in negotiation. When you're the employer and there is a prospect that you're employing or you want to employ, yes, depending on who the person is, and if you want them bad enough, you may have to make certain allowances, and you may have to acquiesce in certain things. But you're supposed to be negotiating position of strength, because you tell us you had a ton of resumes. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to get beaten by the JFF for this and Rudolph for this. I didn't think, I'm going to use euphemism here. I didn't think the interview process was the most involved process that we could have gone through to get the best coach. Rudolph keeps saying he's the best coach that was out there to get. I don't agree. Now, someone will say, well, Cranky, how do you know? Do you know other coaches? There are only so many jobs you have out there, people, at the national level, And Jamaica have a bunch of players who people like and think can qualify for the World Cup. There are more coaches out there. I'm not sure we should have gotten somebody who was... Not too many English coaches are doing well in football, people. Name me one brilliant English coach that you know. Name me one brilliant English coach that you know. Whether young, old, indifferent. Please name me one. One brilliant England developed coach that you know. I can name you a bunch of them in Spain. You hear me talk about Spain. Even the Spain coach, who wasn't the most well-known, who won the Euros, that came through their system, seemed to have been brilliant in terms of how he operated and what he did. So this concept that we got the best coach, I'm not buying it. Now, Rudolph knew him. So, yeah, he knew him. They worked on the talent development situation when he was part of FIFA. Yeah, but Eddie Howe is a good coach, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a brilliant coach. Eddie Howe hasn't won anything. He's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good coach, but England is not where people go to for the best coaches. It's just not. Never been, hasn't been. They have won anything since 1966. Not saying Southgate is not a decent coach. Not saying Eddie Howe is not a decent coach. But if you think about the top six, they have one English coach, right? They have Italian coach in top six. They have, in fact, Newcastle not even top six anymore. A lot of Spanish coaches, some German coaches, Italian coaches. I don't see too many English coaches. Not to knock England. And McLaren may be a good coach, but his history has shown you that he's okay. He won one championship back in his about 40-year coaching career. I call it 30-something years. He's okay. He's organized. He's been in the best environment. He has know-how, but he's okay. All right? He's okay. Lee Carsley is not English. He's British. Isn't he from Ireland or something? But anyway, put him in the mix. Put him in the mix if you want to. Call him English. Close enough. But I'm not here to beat McLaren, people. It's not about a McLaren conference or about selecting McLaren, because we have him. And Maverick missed some opportunities today to challenge Speed on a couple things. First of all, he talked about how we played against the US and the difference in terms of quality. And let me just say something. This is important. And I'm going to get beaten for this, but beaten is part of what I get. Rudolph is getting his flowers, and that's great, and he deserves it. He's done well. But there's a but, people. And people don't say cranky or hating. No, it's a but. Our under 20 came through the Caribbean and went to the CONCACAF under 20 tournament. Our under 14 won the Caribbean under 14 tournament. Cavaliers won the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Championship. Much more expansive a little bit than what we had before. I judge Jamaica football in today's environment based on how we do in CONCACAF, not the Caribbean. And to me, CONCACAF includes the dominant teams in CONCACAF. Panama, to a lesser extent, Honduras, Costa Rica, Canada, USA. I mean, you talk Jamaican. Them there are the competition, you see. Now, I know Dominican Republic went to the under 17, which we didn't go to, by the way. Cuba went to under 20, which we didn't go to, by the way. All these things Maverick keep bringing up about local players not great. And Speed said something today which you can't substantiate and talk about. But he said there are two wing backs or a left and right back in Jamaica who he compares to Cafu and Diego and Carlos, right? Who's to play for Real Madrid. Wow. I don't even know how to respond to that, actually. We have to be very careful with those comparisons and analogies. First of all, here's what's important, people. I'm getting a call. 1 second. Here's what's important, people. History matters, right? Everybody like to compute the 98, and Maverick like to talk about the balance of 98. I'm going to digress by saying, hey, Maverick, let me tell you something, Maverick. There's only 3 English players came initially, Maverick. That's why there was 3 in there. If 6 had come, it'd be 6 in the team. You talk about balance. It's not because they were recruiting, because the JFF don't really recruit players, people. Let me tell you that right now. The JFF doesn't have a real recruiting strategy. They historically had one person in England who's supposedly be looking for talent for them. They don't have a comprehensive, well thought out, well constructed, planned strategy to recruit players. They don't. It's a fact. So you got to manage that. If they did, they'd do a better job of recruiting, assessing talent. And the reason why Speed says that the coach doesn't live in Jamaica because he wants to be able to go watch players play. I have never heard him say since he joined us, he's gone to a game and watch a player play. Never. Have you guys heard that? Maybe I missed him because I don't go to every conference. Have you ever heard him say he went to watch Antonio play or Bobby Reed play or Bailey play? Bailey said he has met the coach when he was talking over and over again about talking to Bailey. He's in the Midlands. The coach is in the Midlands. He haven't met the coach. Right? So we got to stop that nonsense. You have to stop that nonsense, people. Because it doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. But what Maverick failed to ask him when he's talking about the US and US dominance was, at no point, and I've said this before, people, perceptiveness is important to know. Never stop listening to certain people to certain things and just digest it and think that is facts, because facts matters, right? And Rudolph did a good job this morning of saying when he was say something by Maverick and he makes a generalized statement, I don't have any evidence of XYZ, which is an imperative. I don't have evidence. I don't have evidence because evidence is important, right? And so let me touch on a couple of things. One is when he asked about the US, there's no point in the whole situation with the coach where he took any responsibility for the US loss. None. He talked about the players and the players' ability, XYZ. He said nothing about his inadequacies. Right? So somebody give me a text and say, the coach, I do some work. Something I have to say. Him finally earning paycheck. That's what I've been just text and told. He's finally earning his paycheck, people. So good. I'm glad he's earning his paycheck. And thanks for the information from my source that he's earning his paycheck. But he never earning paycheck, people. And he didn't take any responsibility for the loss. None. He didn't say, you know what, I was outcoached. You know what good coaches do? You know what good leaders do? You know what good managers do? They say, you know what, the buck stops with me. I own that. And then they say, we need to do A, B, and C. You go back and watch the press conferences. In no time did he say, as a leader, and that's not leading. Sorry, person who texts me. Me have to beat him. Me sorry. Me know when I try to. Me have to beat him. People, when you lead people, when you manage people, they look up to you. They respect you when you take ownership and accountability. He didn't. Right? He didn't. He basically threw the players under the bus. And I watched the game. I was at the game. He was as culpable as anyone else in that team for how poor they were. Now, we did change strategy second half, and it showed you a different outcome, even though the game was lost then. But don't tell me that was all the players. When Robinson went to play the inverted, you did nothing. You didn't switch. You didn't change. You see Arteta will be on the sideline, even though he can't game manage, saying something. Even Amarin, I see at Man U giving instruction. He didn't give no instruction. They're frustrated when goal square and hit them in battle and I show emotion. No. Show some common sense. Show some strategy. Show some thought process. But anyway, I didn't come here to beat the coach. So we'll move on. But I don't want a coach come tell. You hear Pep's, when people talk about his team, Pep no beat his team. Even though they might lose 16 in a row and come up with something else. We got to do better. I have to do better. It was XYZ. No real leader does that. They don't. You can't. If you manage people, you can't. Because they're going to lose respect for you. But anyway, let's move on from the coach. So in the discussion they had this morning, what got me all peeved and upset was Maverick continual rhetoric and his xenophobia, I almost cuss, his xenophobia nonsense, trying to imply, specifically saying that the local players are more committed and exert more energy on the field and more effort than overseas players. The only players he gives some allowance to is Latibo Deer. Because he tried to catch himself by saying, it's not everybody. But he's been saying this for a while now. And his audience buy it. And those who call in and have their xenophobic hat on and live in Jamaica, they buy it. Speed said, I think Christopher Ainworth and somebody else, he said, are Diego Carlos and Cafu. Roberto Carlos and Cafu, not Diego Carlos. Wow, people. We have sent one player to the Premier League playing defense that I can't remember. It's Billy Gardner, right? We haven't sent a player to the Premier League in how long. You know why? Because the standard in the Premier League continue to improve and more players globally are coming there. And I can't remember, have we sent anybody since Ricardo Fuller and Luther Shelton? Have we sent anybody to the Premier League? Sent them from Jamaica, locally to the Premier League, via any other league? Have we sent anybody apart from Leon Bailey, who some will say, you know what? Didn't really come to the Jamaica system. He was developed individually and he went to Belgium and then went there. How many players have we sent? Roberto Carlos and Cafu, two of the best defenders ever. People, let me just say this. When you're talking about football at a local level, be very careful. Because when you say certain things, you might hear me use this term a lot. It makes you seem like you don't know what good looks like. Not saying these players can't develop the very good players, but history doesn't give you that. As I've said the other day in my program, the Caribbean has produced in my view, one world-class footballer. If you say somebody can be Cafu and Roberto Carlos, they're not even they're at the higher world-class level, because there's world-class, and even with world-class, you have a hierarchy. Come on, Rudolph. You got to do better than that, Rudolph. So they have certain attributes which make them, you think they're going to be great, but don't do those comparisons. Don't put pressure on those youth like that. Because they're playing against local players, people. When you play within a certain environment, it's like you're playing schoolboy football, Kaim Dixon, you dominate, and then you go play someplace else with better players, and you don't look that way. I'm sure a lot of under 20 players when the under 20 team dominated during schoolboy football and dominated during the Caribbean when they won the Caribbean section of what they were doing with John Wall, and then they go to the under 20 and they get 15 love. Maverick, how come you don't ask about that, Maverick? Because Maverick, you keep talking about there needs to be a balance and you want local players in the team. And I do not care what player, based on what they develop, be in the team. I don't care if it's 25 local players and they're good enough, but I'm all about meritocracy, people. And when he keeps saying that nonsense, it's frustrating him talk the garbage that he talks about how, so Maverick, you said Cephas when he comes on and Dixon when he comes on, they run hard. And who you mentioned? You mentioned Dixon, you mentioned Cephas, and Nicholson, and he runs hard. First of all, Nicholson run hard some game, not all game. Last game, yes, he run hard. But here's the question, Maverick. What about McGee? Does he run hard all the time? Huh? What about King? Players of certain disposition and way of mannerism and how they operate. King plays cerebral football. He ain't going to run around and go kick down 10 man. Right? His name is not Low. He's going to be overly aggressive, or Bernard. Right? He plays with composure. He plays cerebrally. He's assessing the game. He plays like a pin-up plays. Right? There's a bunch of players who play for Jamaica. Speedy Williams, do they run and kick down people? People are they try to play football in a more composed way, not the more aggressive way. Yes, Cephas come on, he run hard, and Dixon. They come on as substitutes, so they have more energy at that point. When you do your deductive reasoning, you lack deductive reasoning. Or when you do your reasoning, you lack deductive reasoning. It's disappointing and frustrating at the same time. Jesus Lord. And then people are buying off on it because they come in and they agree with you, with your nonsense. And the person Garfield in there, why don't they give you the nonsense meter? Oh, I forgot, it's your program. You can't cut you off. It is so frustrating listening to the nonsense, people. So frustrating listening to the nonsense. And by the way, people, I must say this. Right? I must say this, people. Which is, let's see how Cavaliers does in the next round. That's how I judge teams in Jamaica nowadays, you know. I don't judge them playing amongst themselves and the Caribbean, you know. Let's see how they go in the next round. Yeah, I did invite Maverick and say I did invite him to another third party and say I'm busy. So no, fuss with it. No. If me invite someone program one, then I come, me no bother. Me move on. He don't need me, I don't need him. So me no fuss about it. Yeah, Nitro, I agree, Nitro. But I think there has to be someone with a contrasting or an opposite perspective or a different perspective or a counter to that narrative. Right? And we don't have the platform in Jamaica to do that. But YouTube is reachable, not the platforms. By the way, people, let me just say this. Please subscribe to my Balanced View channel because I'm going to cut on my sport because it's a very frustrating place to be in. And I want to talk about other things which are probably more important than sport, actually. Sport is entertainment. I want to have and come next year, I do much less sport. I do much like Reggae Boyz football. I mean, I get frustrated. I get frustrated, bad people, bad. So I can relieve my frustration talking about people like Trump and Syrian war and Ukraine war and Gaza and the economic environment. I don't think they can help me get my frustration. I can't deal with people who just think they know everything about everything and then everything come out of their mouth may be negative. So I'll play some aspect of this, people. I'll play this. And then we're going to hear this.
A creative number 10. But obviously you must struggle to find that person.
No.
Rephrase
it. You want somebody who can do it consistently. We do.
Yeah, we find the odd person here.
Yeah, right, but there. Consistently good there. We haven't found.
But me feel you me think the problem. You're a problem with me identify speed. We will play some players. We will play Greg Lee and Amari Bell and Lemby Kisa and some of them. Play them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. Sometimes they have some half games. Sometimes they have some poor games. Sometimes we have to take them out. We will play Bowser. We play Leon. We will play Demari Gray. Has not as a good game for about probably 15 games now. No, probably not so much. But them still come and them start. We play Tarek McGee in a 3 game. 1.5 of them in play good and we say, boy, we have to look for your next man. Why we have the creative players them so hard? And that's something we had a long time.
Yeah, and it should be a body of work because may say if you do that thing where you assist or score a goal, one of the most difficult things. Yeah, people who do it often are billionaire, rotten rich. So the truth is it's difficult. So it have to be over. You have to judge them over a period of time. That's what I think.
So here's the point. Which creative players is he talking about apart from McGee? Please explain to me. What creative players is he talking about? He mentioned Greer and Bowser and Bailey, and then he mentioned a couple of defenders, right? Because I see them have up and down game. But which creative players is he talking about? I'm confused about that comment because McGee's the only name he mentioned. What other creative players is he talking about? Or is it locally developed players who don't get consistent run? Can I mention Maggie and game 3 game, right? Which I don't disagree with the concept, which is he played good in the Nicaragua game, but the other two, and he played one good half in Jamaica. But the other games he's played, which he played against the US one game and didn't really, when the level step up, sometimes Maggie's step down. That's the way I see it. You know, I think Maggie's a decent footballer, but what Speed is trying to impart to him is that, and he will say this. Let me keep playing this because I think he may have mentioned it there. But I think what he's basically telling him is that, look, You know what? Me play it. You hear it.
Well, we'll get a particular CONCACAF officer is listening as well, and he says, hearty congratulations to you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Jamaican CONCACAF representative. Big up yourself, Big Mac. We have another question. We have another question on the WhatsApp line. And tell me when you're ready for the cluster now, Wobby. I could do it earlier rather than later.
Yeah, morning Maverick and crew. Morning Mr. Speed. Genuine here. Quick question. Would you like to coach the national team anytime soon? Because I think the whole heap of overseas coach them. I think what we can get from a local coach, we can get from the overseas coach them. When a man born and grow in Jamaica and have Jamaica interest at heart, him we push out more. That's just my personal opinion still.
So people, that sentiment that the colors express is not unique to Jamaica. Let me just say that clear. Because in England, when they hired Tuchel, that was expressed. Didn't hear it from Pochettino in the US. But I don't like the sentiment that because you're local, you're going to put up more effort. Then you're saying the people who are working with, you're not professional. When you work for a company, you don't own the company. You can put on your best effort because the company pays you, right? That's how it works. Do you own the company you work for? You work for a corporation. They have shareholders. You don't have any shares in the company. You're not putting on your best effort. You can say that about any company you work for, any environment you work in. When you work for the government, do you own the government? Do you have shares in the government? Are they paying you? You're doing a job. So you tell me because you own the company, you put in some more effort. That may happen, but I don't think that's relevant because you don't own Jamaica. You're born in Jamaica. But what makes you think that the person may put in more effort than you? It could go the opposite way. So I don't like how you phrased it. I don't disagree that Jamaica try to develop coaches with the right pedigree, the right accreditation, the right skill set, and the right experience to coach a national team. I have no problem with that. But when you qualified that I'm going to put on less effort because I'm born there, I'm not buying it.
More than just want to see a local man coach the team.
All right, so good question. So the truth is, you are so correct. When you look at the percentages of the coach that are born in the country to qualify for the Premier League, it is greater than the percentage of coaches that
over the world.
Yeah, in the world that is imported to qualify the team. So there's some merit.
For the World Cup you're talking, right?
The World Cup. So there's some merit. But again, you have to understand what the players also would want.
So people, if that's the case, so when you're in England, so you hire a coach that's from Newcastle to coach Newcastle because that coach would best represent Newcastle because he's more passionate. He was a fan. Same with Arsenal. Because most of the coaches in the Premier League now should be English. Okay, more understand English football. Most of the coaches are not English in the Premier League, you know. They're not English. People are going for quality. Should you develop your local coaches? Yes, but they're going for quality. It's meritocracy, people. I want to win. Not to just satisfy some local desire.
Want to accept. They might not want to accept a local coach when they're playing at EPL because they might just think the local coach is not good enough. So all of those things are taken into consideration when you try to find a coach because it don't make sense to carry a coach and the player them just now accept him or believe that the coach is good enough to coach them. And play have a whole heap of power these days. So yeah.
That Virgin touched on something crucial, Speed. When we always talk about it on this program. This local, the comparison between the local born players and the foreign born players, and the need for strike the right balance. And we'll go back to that game there.
People, balance being quarter. Don't get it full, people. There's no such thing as right balance because people go back to 98 and balance. 98 wasn't balance. We had 3 overseas players and we had 8. Is that a balance or is that a misbalance? Is balance 6 and 5 or 5? What does balance entail? Or is balance another name for quota? We had balance in the under 20. We had 5 overseas based players. Not everyone start. We got 15 love. That's balance. How did that work?
The last World Cup qualifiers, the game with Panama, where you get the 3 love in that stadium. Where I understand there was something close to a rebellion did go on at the camp at the time. And the coach at the time apparently decides, all right, you want foreign players? All foreign players go play. And we get 3 love. Because there is a perception out there, Speed. Me, myself, I have to admit to it. Sometimes when I watch some of them ball and they play, my boss, me not see the same level at 10.
Before me go to some people, you hear the analogy the man use an example he used the example during COVID when things were a mess and when they had intern fight, the Panama game as the barometer. We didn't beat Panama forever to say when you might compare the overseas versus local. You hear that, people? Huh? That's really interesting. And I guess the coach must have had some intervention in the process because maybe you want to play our local players. And we heard the noise, but that didn't come out. Remember when Ketara come out and said them people get 6 and 7 and we got beaten? I don't think anyone would think that's the best period of time to judge anything in football, frankly. By the way, that's when Liverpool win their title during COVID period. But anyway, Liverpool fans will not like me for that.
Tenacity and heart and fight. When me say Cephas go up on the field or Kaim Dixon go up on the field or Bowser up on the field.
No, you bring up that tree love there. That is one of the time we say we're playing without a number 6. We never have a number 6.
No number 6 at all.
No. So me not go.
You're not contributed to that.
No, that one the makeup of the team was just wrong.
All right.
But here when me believe, me is a Stephen Francis man in this case. Right?
The track and field coach.
Yes. If you have players that get the best training and the best coaching and the best facilities and bully for money, and then you have another player who don't get none of that, and they are close in ability, you have to look on the upside of the player and make a choice. A diamond in the rough is always a diamond in the rough.
Right.
Where you can.
Here's the problem with speed analogy, people. What speed is saying, if I have 2 players, they're very close in ability, and one have more upside. I may have more raw material I can convert. I'm going to take that one. No one would disagree with that. But a lot of times the players are not that close in ability to even do that comparison and to say, you know what, I'm going to take the one. Because what they're saying, inferring, is I should take the local players. Don't get it wrong, people. That's what embedded in that whole thing when that smile come back and that comment come back, which is, you know what, Cephas and Dixon may have more upside than the other players. Do they really? Are they that close sometimes? I like Cephas. I like Dixon. I get a lot beaten about that. But we should be clear about how things are categorized in Jamaica and position and what that entails. We should be clear on that.
Can bring through.
So,
and I think that is the problem when a lot of coaches can't understand how to make that decision. So, for instance,
yes,
I'll tell you something. You know about Roberto Carlos and Cafu. We have 2 youth at Jamaica, but for the next 10 years, then could have been that.
Left back and right back.
Yes.
Where them play?
One of them. I can tell you the name too. One named Christopher Yanes to play for Cavalier.
Yes.
Him is an attacking wing back, but him can defend.
Yeah.
One named Rabino Garden will play for Vier. Him is a good defensive right back, but him can attack. I would have loved for just have 2 of them play upon one team. It's a dream to have that type
just from a talent and quality perspective.
Yes. And one at 18 and one at 19.
Oh my God.
Right?
And we don't think about 2 wing back them. But
you see what I try to tell you?
Yeah.
And then they are Jamaica right here. If you just invest in those 2
at that age,
for like
another 3-4 years,
no.
So if Maverick know everything about sports in Jamaica and all the best players in Jamaica, how come Maverick don't know those players and know how supposedly wonderful they are and what their potentials entail? Did those players play for the under 20? I don't know. I can't recall. Because if they play for the under 20, shouldn't that have come out? And shouldn't they be the 2 starting? Because we had a mainly local teams. Where did they come out in the under 20 when they played? Can you guys tell me if they were part of the under 20? I don't know. I'm confused. I'm confused is what I don't want to say. Yes, as Mincy would give you a hard time on. I'm confused, people. Were they part of the under 20? I'm curious. And people, I'm trying to be nice here. I'm gonna say this because I've got chastised on this. Please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. You're so soft, me talk. Come here, so me a bully. So and I was told to desist from coming across hard about how I make this request. So can you please hit the like button, please? Jesus, this is hard to say this way.
No. They are so good. Me talk about 6 months investment.
They can play no.
Yes. Me just tell you.
So, see a nice little left back play for Waterhouse yesterday too. I don't remember his name. He step up in the offensive third and had 2 cracks at goal yesterday. And he defend very well too. He's the first me I see him. We never gonna see him again.
Plus, these players now are better coach now in Jamaica than first time. And like first time when you have a D license coach or a village coach, I coach them. They have trained A license coach, I coach them now. So that thing with and overseas is still the same A license coach, you have a coach them too. So that difference disappear fast. But he said those two players, me I tell you.
Ainsworth from Cavalier. Me I write down the name.
Yes,
I go scout them for myself.
Rabino Garden.
Garden from Veer.
Yeah. And me I tell you.
Garden is one of Craig Ball of them. We mean if him come to the Mona City, him there Veer.
Him come to Mona City.
You serious? Me never know they could have secret. You know call Craig and ask about him.
No.
What's the relationship with you and Butler like right these days?
We don't need to speak.
We have another question for Mr. Speed.
Good morning, Explosion family. Fuzzy out of East. Congratulations, Mr. Speed. Wish you more success. But there's two players I want to mention on your team, you know. One of them is an unsung hero, Dwayne Allen, number 13. He look like 30, but he play like a giant. Give me some more details on that player, you know. And give me the status on Adrian Ray Jr. Now I don't see much, you know, playing for you this season. Also, schoolboy football, you know, come to a close and a wet season. Congratulations to all the coaches who were involved. But my heart goes out more to the winners of the Manning Cup, Kingston College and Mr. Reynolds and his coaching staff. Thank you for carrying us across with all the obstacles.
So before that, come on, let me answer this thing from Black Prince. Black Prince, I didn't say these players don't have potential. I think you're putting pressure on players when you compare them to Roberto Carlos. First of all, we ain't produced nobody if it, Roberto Carlos and no Cafu to make that comparison. We can say we have two very good players playing out there. They have excellent potential, and we think they could do well. You got to be very careful when you do this analogy and comparison. You know, when they're playing in local leagues, you haven't put them in an environment to show how good they are. I haven't seen them for the under 20. So where were they for the under 20? Black Prince. So you guys can say, use positive reinforcement. I'm not beating the players. I don't know them well enough. I've watched Christopher Angel play. I don't think he's Cafu or Diego, but that's just me. Or Diego Carlos, but that's just me. So anytime somebody says something that, and that's why you don't talk about young players, you know, because everybody thinks you're beating the young players. It doesn't do with the players. It's how the adults are talking about these players. And the question is, are you putting too much pressure on these players? Have you exposed the players to an environment where we can see it? I hear everybody talking about the couple Haitian players who play in the Caribbean come and should try to buy those Haitian players. I don't hear the same about other players from maybe anywhere else. I have to laugh.
Because that you had faced. Yeah, man. So congratulations also to Gavi Marcel. Well, the name fit to no man, all the way on the player. And also to the other teams, Walker Cup winners and the Ben Francis winners. Wet season, but it was good to watch. Out.
Right. So Reed is in Europe actually. I don't even know when he's coming back, but he's in Europe, right? On a trials. Dwayne Allen was a former Wolmer's player who played Manning Cup. And he sit out a couple years, but he always had quality though. But we have him from he was about 12 years of age. As it relates to those multiple winners, or those schoolboy football title, you notice where all of them have in common, except for Mona, the A license. So
the coaches,
yeah, all of them.
Vassal and
so as I said on my show last night, and I was talking to Paul Edwards, FIFA, because what Rudolph is basically saying is that the coaching education. The coaches who are most successful in Jamaica are the ones who are undergoing the accreditation within their profession, and it's reflecting itself on the football field, right? I've always been preaching that Jamaica's biggest problem, even though it has a lot, when it comes to football, is the coaching. Leadership is a big part of it, but the coaching is huge. And I think Rudolph is substantiating that in a lot of different ways, and he keeps emphasizing that. Right? That the coaching is an imperative, the coaching is important, and the output we get from the players, because we're saying our players have athleticism and they have raw material and they're not being produced to play at the highest level, then you got to go back to the coaching. Now, people talk about the football field and you have to control the ball twice. I'm sorry, the coaching is big, and I'm glad we're doing. More people are getting the A license, and we go get the pro license and get, we're doing it across the board. Because I think I keep saying this. Spain has the most UEFA Pro license in Europe, and they have the most coaches in the top league, and they're doing the best on the football field.
Period. So
There's a Peter a sure worth as a coach now. Because people were questioning him. Questioning his pedigree to be.
Yeah, they were. And him win a new title for Jamaica.
Right. The under 15. Yeah. So. I want to go back to something you touched on a while ago. When you were talking about how you judge players, you reconcile between the millionaire player and the player who wants to make his name. But you never tell me which side of the coin. You never tell me which side of the coin you come up on. You left it as a choice that coaches have to make.
Yes, they really have to make it. But Stephen Francis, who has probably one.
Which one Frano that choose?
Frano will take the one.
The hungry one.
The hungry one, yeah. And if you notice, him never pick who win as champs.
No.
Because those would have been coached out to the max.
Max out.
So you have to think about
the ones with the potential to improve.
How far them can go up, you know.
Yeah.
And that is the trick where most people can decipher out who are those players. Because a lot of players that me have, I play for Cavalier now. No other club would have put them on a football field. Because them can't figure out how the person are going to make the transition.
I think it is important in terms of the national team to get a balance.
Yes.
Because you need the experience of those players who play in Europe and play in England. They have
definitely.
But if you don't have the hungry belly component there, the team are going to look lackluster a lot of the time. Yeah. But when we discuss that issue, some of my brethren, especially when they live abroad, the callers and listeners to that show, they say me I saw division in our team, foreign versus local. But it's a reality when me see in the team, I don't know if no man see it. And as we say, no man don't tell me about when me see in the football. Remember the other day when we were playing against, is which game McLaren played at home? Was it the Honduras game? I think it was the Honduras game. Was it the Honduras game? There was a game where we put on Dixon, Cephas, and Anglin on the field. And you could have, it was like chalk to cheese in the level of intensity of the game when the man come on the field. Now that is something I don't think we can discount going into the World Cup qualifiers. We don't know how far Steve McLaren, I don't know how far he has gotten in terms of this.
You notice he didn't talk about how productive the players were. And people, you've heard me of late talk about Dixon and Cephas. I haven't talked about Anglin. But he hasn't talked about how productive they were. All right? Yeah, probably Tripoli. Probably Tripoli. They gave me an answer to me that Tripoli, I'm not sure, actually. But he hasn't talked, people, when I talk about players, I'm not talking about you and run around like you're mad enough. I'm saying, do you run around and create havoc for the opposition? Do you run around thoughtfully? And you talk about moments in game. If you come and run around and you're not playing within the moments of the game and doing what the team requires you to do, given situation and circumstances, you're running around and making a difference.
Deciding what his final squad will be and how we will execute.
No, well, he's still looking, you know, which you have to give him some slack.
Me know, but I hope he recognize what we are talking about.
No, but he's coming in January. I said we're going to play at least 2 to 3 games with local and the Americas players.
Me get the impression say him not with the local players.
No, I wouldn't say
that's an impression. Me get the impression say anytime Dixon and Cephas and them player they go up on the field and Meran nudge him in sharp ribs and say, boss, put on the young youth and make them run.
Me don't
feel like coach I want to play them ball.
I don't know.
That is a worry.
I don't know, but
yeah,
the truth is, if me have a player playing an English Premier.
Let me say something to you, Bam. I won't get Nancy Meet and Oral Tracy show anymore. If I ever call him again, I'm just gonna agree with him, and then the Nancy Meet won't come up. So I'm good.
League. Right? If me have a player playing an English Premier League, the truth is that means they would have gone through a vetting process and we would hesitate to pick those. MLS the same thing. We would hesitate to pick those because they have gone through a vetting process. So it really, you're going to have less spots to pick players with untried and
I think that was a brilliant answer by Rudolph. People, here's what Rudolph says. He's saying, which Maverick don't seem to get. What he's saying is this. A player has been tested at a certain level. They're either doing well or they're satisfying the requirement at that level. So that player has gone through the examination process, just like coaches go through the examination process, right? Getting accredited. They've gone through it. They either passed it or they're doing okay in that environment. I can pick those players because I know they've gone through that rigor of getting there. It's less so for playing the JPL when they haven't gone through that rigor for me to go pick those players. And that's logical, people. So when you're talking about overseas versus local, and you start to beat, like local players and this and that, no, the local players haven't gone through that rigor. Now, the goal is to get them overseas and get that exposure and see how they perform, but they're untried and untested. And Dixon got in the team without being tried. So he didn't go through that process. So certain players go through the process or get opportunities. Whisper did. Dixon did. They didn't get tested. At least Cephas is overseas and other players overseas. You have to go through a process, people. And say you want to become a doctor. I need to go through the exam to become a doctor. But you say you're smart and he's brilliant. No, you got to go through the process, get tested, show that you passed the exam. Then I can say, you know what? You're performing at the highest level. You've competed against players who have similar pedigree and ability. And yes, I'm going to put you in my team. Now, the player who hasn't got tested could be better than you, actually, but they haven't gone through the process. So I'm going to pick you. It's simple.
That's not enough. But even the players we mentioned a while ago, there's a component in the team speed. I don't know, me I see it. As we tell you, I'm 98, we don't find a balance, From 1998, we look for the balance and don't find it back there.
So here's the thing about 98 unbalanced people. I don't know if any other player except the three who came initially and both got in the team and both started back in 98. You guys can tell me, because some of you guys were there more than I was there. Even though I followed the team and we played in Washington, D.C. Please tell me about, because we keep going back to 98 and the balance. The balance was we had 8 local starters and 3 overseas players who all came and all were in the team. And then subsequently, when they went to the World Cup, we brought in the Simpsons and the Powell and the Robbie Earl. Robbie Earl shouldn't have team in America, or Bill user. But we brought in a number of the players, didn't we? And they started over the local players. What is he talking about? And people like Paul Young and so were pushed aside. I have no idea what he's talking about.
What? Yeah, if me personally feel, if we don't, when we watch some of the man them play, as me said, the man them vex when me talk them something. When we watch some of the man them play, my boss, the man play like them don't want to get injured, brother. That's how some of the man them play. And it's not a blanket statement. It's not a blanket statement either way, Because you have players like Latimer there. When him come and put on a Jamaican shirt, him left an arm and a leg on the field. Yeah. So it's not a blanket statement. No, but it's an assessment of each individual player and how them contribute to it.
I believe they all want to win though.
Me know.
Yeah.
But all of them exude what the execution differently, my boss. And me believe a big part of qualifying for your World Cup final. I don't know so technical skills.
No.
You have to come with a war face when you try to qualify for World Cup. You think Honduras and Costa Rica and Salvador, them countries, are just going to make a play.
And a plan.
Yeah.
It might ugly, but have a plan. Or you want to do it.
This coach have a plan.
To me, there was no better coach for us, when we look at him, There was no better coach based on his pedigree and how he present himself, etc. He was easily our best choice at the time.
Rudolph says that it's hard to dispute it because they don't have the intelligence about who applied for the job. But my one question to Rudolph is, how much due diligence did we do to source coach for this team? Did we feel rushed because Al Grimson resigned? We had World Cup qualifiers coming up. We want to get somebody on board. Did McLaren have an insight or an inside information, or did he have the inside view to the job, given that you work with him during lockdown when you were doing the talent development program? So he had access, or he had more information, or you knew him more, so that made it easier for him. I don't know, but I was calling for a Spanish coach. I was calling for a more seasoned coach, so I don't know. Yes, Conrad, I'm a Spanish coach, because my Spanish coach would not talk about other people. First of all, I probably couldn't understand when I say I speak Spanish, but when I talk about the US beat, we're not a player them fault and a team fault. And we would have seen a style. What's the style of play, Conrad? What's the style of play? What's the style of play, Conrad? Me want to know. Because everybody says coach is a modern coach, I don't know what that mean, people. I'm confused. Modern coach. Me hear that all the time. He was asked the question, and he never answered the question about modern coach. He talk more like he's an adaptable coach versus modern coach.
All right. Obi, what you want to do now? You have one more, and then when we're going to do the exposure, we have to do it after this. All right. We have one more question to Mr. Speed.
Sports Explosion family, good morning. I have a question for Mr. Speed. What do you think is the issue why we can't get the best out of Mr. Leon Bailey? As a coach, how do you help Leon Bailey give Jamaica him best because right now it's not working. Love your opinion, Mr. Speed.
To me,
I go on a bag of things. Respect.
To me, that's simple. I would just take him record at Aston Villa and he record at Jamaica and put it beside each other and say, hold on, why me can't get the same thing? That's what I'm going to do.
I hope I know this year I talk about, you know. I hope last year I talk about, can we take this year record? I see him thinking about do. So I hope I last year record.
If you ask me.
You try to get this one.
Yeah.
Them say when Leon come to Jamaica be a party for party speed.
There's no evidence for this.
You serious?
Yeah.
So when the man them see my road,
I don't know if I said there's no evidence.
You say that?
Yeah, you know, Jamaicans are, they would just talk. But I'm saying that's what I would do. Any player, I would say, listen, this is what you do in your professional career, this is what you do in your national career. If I want the same take on, I want the same.
You know, someone say to him,
yeah, just show him. Yeah.
You don't think him know?
No, me don't know.
Or probably that you want to give him a shock effect, like make him look.
So me look on coaching simply, you know, and numbers me look on, you know.
Yeah.
So me just look on your numbers and say, if you know.
So people, I love that comment by Rudolph because you hear me always trying to show stats, people, because it matters. When you guys beat players sometime, you're just using the optics a lot of time. You watch the game, you don't go look at the stats, and you don't realize, like, you know what? People, there's some professional team nowadays, you know, it's all stats, you know, people. Basketball, football, NFL, I'm talking about soccer. I mean, it's all about stats, you know, people. How much tackle you make, how far do you run, how much goals you score, how much assists you have, right? There's some things which you can't capture in a stat. You can't capture somebody not picking up somebody else, like when Pulisic scored against us and the right back was missing and Bailey didn't really saw him running and didn't track him. But stats, people, is an imperative and it's important and it gives you factual, quantitative information, not qualitative, to use to inform what the player is doing. It's one if you look at a player and run hard, you know, and bust him chest, you know, but he's not producing and you don't have anything to back it up, right? The data thing is, and Rudolph is learning more and more how important this is. And it was certain clubs like Dallas Maverick, for example, who's use stats and they make decisions. Nowadays in the EPL, they use stats to decide whether or not to sign a player or whether or not to get rid of a player. So technology is changing the world in all aspects, in all respects, and stats is one component of that. And it's important to, when you finish watching a game, just don't look at what your eyes tell you. Go look at the stats and then equate it to what you saw. There are going to be things in the game which the stats don't pick up, which is important to look at. But look at the stats, people. Don't just say, you know what, not good enough. X, Y, Z. No, go look at the game. When I look at Hayden's stats, I was amazed at his stats, people. Sometimes low is the same. You look at low stats, you're like, he did all of this? Even though I think sometimes low stats overemphasize his game because sometimes he take too much risk. Forget the stats that he does, but him pull up the stat sheet.
If you not give me that, I'm not pick you. I tell you plain.
All right, we're going for a quick break on the sports explosion. Give me some speed, a breather, and then we play some explosion messages when we come back. Soon come back. Sports explosion with
2FM. 2FM. Number one for sports.
Trying to forward and see if I can just finish it out. I thought he had one more important thing. Anyway, I'm not going to play no more. Bless up S Technic. Thanks for joining. And thanks everybody who's joining. Please hit the like button, please. But the main thing why I want to talk about was the fact that I don't like, I'm trying to figure out, people, how can we get rid of this whole, I must make this as black people, because we all seem to have this issue, people. We are very divisive as a race. And even in our own country, we're divisive. So as a people, whether we're African, American, and I watch the Europeans, you know, even them have war and kill off each other, you know, them still come together and one economy, you know, people. It's amazing how that works, right? Ukraine fighting in Russia, Caucasian fighting each other, and them support one side or the other big time. When Sudan have them war, nobody not support Sudan, you know. When other people have them war, nobody not take no side. Them do it under the cover, but I know we, Caucasian, do it because we don't have no power globally. Name me one black country that's doing really well in the world, people. Just one. Just one. That's the problem we have. We're not, Africa does not as a collective. Africa doesn't create one European Union. The Caribbean doesn't do that. They have CARICOM, which is non-functional. It's a problem, people. Look at Ireland and Haiti. We send some Kenyan people, few Jamaicans and a few people from the place, and people start running their mind and get crazy, right? We have potential. We just don't maximize the potential. We have potential. We don't use the potential. We have potential. We fight each other versus fighting against forces that fight against us. Yeah. So, but we have to start someplace, Nitro. We can't just give up. So Elmick is asking, Cranky, would Paul Hall be less effective than SMC? I don't know, At this moment, I would say no. But I don't think Paul Hall, the problem with people like Paul Hall is they haven't gotten any jobs and any resume for you to look at. And Jamaica, big pan resume, people. I don't know, I've had some engagement with people, and big pan resume, If you don't have certain resume, they don't want to talk to you. But if you have certain resume, you get, even if you keep on failing and failing, they'll look at you because you say the resume, you got hired in the first place. And that's how some companies are too. So, if you have pedigree based on where you have worked and you have had some success, you're going to get more opportunities than those who may not have had it, right? Now, Top had a very good record actually. Yeah, Richard Green, but we have to define well Richard Green. We have to define well. And they went through their problem, right? With their whole ethnic cleansing thing. So yeah, but I'm not going to stay long, people. I'm going to go watch a West Ham game. I just come on because I was listening to Maverick this morning and I was very upset. And I was going to do a 10-minute, but 10 minutes take too long for you upload sometimes. So I just say, let me just come on and do a quick show. Talk about this a little bit. In fact, I'm going to do more. This is what I call a reaction video, people. I'm going to do more reaction videos. The other one them take too long. People, you know what long it takes? I put together a show if you want to do your research, right? Maybe just do some reaction videos because some of you, let me just qualify that, are not supporting my channel the way I'd like. I'll be honest. And it's very hard to do that. So if I do the old topical reaction video thing, it may be more productive than doing a long, elaborate, I should say, research, go on the net, read books, and then bring it all together and then frustrated because it doesn't get the views I want and or it doesn't have the effect I want to have, right? So anyway, by the way, the whole conflict thing come out this morning. I'm sorry, I missed it. So Maverick mentioned that Rudolph is not conflicted because Richard King doesn't start in the national team, and he mentioned something else, right? And Rudolph sort of smiled and said, thanks for not bringing up the whole conflict thing. Let me say this, people. I'm not going to dwell on it either because I think I'll kind of give up. But because Richard King doesn't get in the national team doesn't mean Rudolph is not conflicted. He's conflicted. It's not debatable. The question is, does he leverage that conflict? The question is, how is the conflict managed? The fact that we can have evidence to substantiate, which is qualitative and not quantitative, so you can't really tell. We're not behind the scenes whether or not he encourages or influences decisions about his players. We don't know. But don't say you don't have conflict because you have conflicts. And people, let me just say this. Those of you who want to challenge me, cranky, I think you know everything about everything. I have audited conflicts. Let me repeat that. In big corporations, I have audited conflicts. Companies have what they call a conflicts register. The register lists all the conflicts. The conflicts are hierarchical, people, in terms of what more significant. Regulators look at conflict. SEC, FCA, they look at conflicts. In the conflicts, what you do in a company is you identify them, you assign owners to each conflict, right? And those people have to manage it, and you put measures and mitigants in place to make sure the conflict is effectively managed. We don't see any of that. So even if Rudolph is not acting on the conflicts, we don't know. They haven't talked about it. They haven't shown us what they have done about it. We don't know. If they came back and say, you know what, here's what we have written. Rudolph can do A, B, and C. That's managing conflict. When I bring this up, they got all upset and getting their feelings. The conflict is there. Some people could say, you know what? Well, Richard King doesn't start, but he's in the team. Should he be there? Even though you guys know I support Richard King being in the team. That's a question. Or Reed gets in the team, but look at what he put for the under 20, and Reed is now in the team. Why is Reed in the team versus somebody else? Somebody could say, well, Rudolph influenced that. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean Rudolph did, but they could draw those conclusions, which may not be okay. So if you put measures in place to manage a conflict, people, it's better, more apparent, it's transparent, it's out in the open, you're showing it, because you're saying, look, we need Rudolph to be technical director and manage Cavaliers and do the 50 things that he does. But we're managing the conflict. That's a different way of saying, let me close my eyes and let it go away. And you know what? Richard King didn't play regularly, so he's not a conflict. That's nonsense, people. It's not well thought out. It's nonsense. And I get beaten for that because I bring that out. But I'm just trying to inform Rudolph and others in the JFF. You can't hide when it comes to certain things. You have to manage them and make it transparent to the public that you represent. Even though we understand that JFF is a quasi-private organization, so we don't have no influence. But we're trying to bring this to the table. Come up with a method. Dennis Strong, this is for you, Dennis, because you're the General Secretary. Develop a document that outline what the conflicts are, show the mitigants you put in place, get independent owners for those conflicts. Okay, so it became the same person. Rudolph can manage his own conflict and show that in the decision-making process, he can influence it. That's all you got to do. Don't come here and then say, you know what, you guys are wrong. And you know what Cavalier players was in the under 20 in the first 60, and then how many make the last 23? It could be that they're just good players because you know what, he keeps winning the Premier League with kids. He win the Caribbean Cup with kids. But at the end of the day, we don't know that. So don't tell me that because Richard King doesn't play, that means you have no conflict. Maverick, that's very topical. That's like Cliff Notes nonsense. That's how you reason sometimes, and you think you're the most brilliant person on earth. Not saying you're not smart, but I think you miss the big picture sometimes. There is depth to these things. There is not topical to these things. There's depth. Please exercise some depth. And when you come in your program to this thing to a general audience, it's frustrating, it's not well thought out, and it's not how you should operate. Right? That's not how we should operate. So I'm very disappointed in that. But anyway, people, I'm going to close the program down. First of all, thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here. This afternoon show may be better, you know. Instead of me coming on 6 o'clock at night, sometimes I'm tired after a long day. And maybe I'll do more reaction videos. Not necessarily of Jamaica football thing, but I think it's easier doing reaction videos than trying to prepare for some of these shows. They take much time. And I believe that the investment should be worth, the output should be worth the investment. Okay, I'm getting a call. Good afternoon. So
hello, afternoon, Ricky.
Who am I speaking to?
Speaking to Gavin.
How are you doing, Gavin? What you have to say, Gavin? Yeah, I'm hearing you.
I listen to this platform very frequently, and you just mentioned something. So I just wanted to, for your audience's information. There was recently an interview with Speed that I was listening to, and he actually said that everyone is conflicted. Everyone around the world is associated in some way or form. He says that there's actually a document that outlines potential conflicts and how they'd manage it, and it is actually at FIFA. That's what he said. I'm just putting that out there.
Has anybody ever seen that document?
They actually said that.
Wait, Gavin.
No.
Of course not.
But I'm just telling you what he said.
Yeah, but if they had a document, why don't they publish the document? It should be public material. Why did they publish the document? He said that FIFA audited them and know of their conflicts. I don't even know what that means.
I'm saying that he said that there's actually like a conflict register.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's the word that he uses. It's a conflict register, and he would have written that document up to say, what are the potential conflicts and so on and so forth. In terms of how that is managed or whether that is available to the public, that part I'm not sure about. But I know that he said that he signs a conflict register, and it is also at FIFA. So FIFA
has the conflict register. Okay.
That is what he had said at one of the interviews. But so as you always said, when it comes down to Speed, he's a man that I very much appreciate in terms of how he goes about doing his business, in terms of his footballing acumen and so on and so forth. But sometimes he doesn't. When it comes down to the softer skills, he doesn't really have that per se. So he did say that on one of the interviews that I listened to in the past.
I appreciate it. I was on the Management show when he was on there, and I went on there, but I probably didn't hear that part because I didn't go on initially. So I may have missed that component. So thanks for informing me. I appreciate that. Now, the good thing would be, I'd be curious to see what that register looks like, people. So, but I appreciate the intelligence and information.
Story.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So what he's saying, people, Gavin is saying is that there's a conflict register that the JFF has, and it lists out the conflicts. The question is, does it have the universe of conflicts? Are the conflicts prioritized? How are the conflicts managed? Who owns the conflict and how are they managed? So Triple E said on I Am Sure Sports. I didn't hear that component. I went on the program actually, but it may have been before I get on. So I'd love to see it actually. And maybe we can put it to bed. Maybe it's being managed. Now, does everybody have conflict? Yeah, most people probably have conflict in life, but the conflict may not be impactful. The conflict may not be significant. The conflict may not be noteworthy. The conflict may not have public implications to them. Yeah. Okay. All right, Triple E. Yeah. Because if I was there, I would have probably jumped on it. So I probably get myself in trouble with Speed. All right. Yes, we're done it. I'm going to watch the West Ham game, people. I'm not sure I'm coming back later, but here's the thing, people. You could have been doing something much better with your afternoon. I appreciate you being here. As you leave, please hit the like button. Thanks for your support. I do appreciate it. And hope you have a wonderful afternoon. All right, everyone. Thanks and peace out. Appreciate you. Frankie Life is the best to be now. For the best sports talk and it's free, yo. Frankie Life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Frankie Life. Tell them, Frankie Life. Heed them, Frankie Life. Want them, Frankie Life. From the courts to the field, we'll never lose because Cranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Cranky Life. Tell them, Cranky Life. Heed them, Cranky Life. Want them, Cranky Life. Cranky Life where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Cranky Life. Get to know the name because Cranky analysis is never lame. Cranky Life. Give me my Cranky Life. I want my Cranky Life. Must have my Cranky Life. Whether it's football or track and field, you know Cranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and defeat and subscribe and don't miss a beat of Cranky Life. Tell them, Cranky Life. Heed them, Cranky Life. Want them, Cranky Life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Cranky Life. Tune into Cranky Life. Like up Cranky Life. Subscribe to Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Coming to you on weekdays. Cranky Life sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Cranky will always bring the heat. Cranky Life. Me say fi tell them Cranky Life. Me say fi heed them Cranky Life. On them Cranky Life. Cranky Life will be around. Cranky Life is the best in town. Me say fi heed them. Me say fi want them. Me say fi heed them. Want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Cranky. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Heed, want, heed them.